not always playtime. Sometimes it's big boy time.
Get him coach.
ISUPK Sioux Falls, can you hear?
Let's do a mic check on YouTube.
Slagi, if you can hear, put a 1 in the chat. A 1 West in the chat.
I can hear some of
He's in
YouTube.
trouble, man. You like to be in
All right,
trouble?
we are the ISUPK Israelite School Universal Practical Knowledge, established in 1969, 1 West on the 25th Street, Harlem, New York. We are led by Commander General Yohana. We are not affiliated with any other organization. Pay your tithes, Israel. We got the Feast of Dedication, aka Hanukkah, Sunday, December 14th. You can find that in the book of Maccabees. First Maccabees, chapter 4, verses 52 through 61. This upcoming Monday, we got Priest and Captain Pops. He's going to be continuing the Matthew's breakdown, Matthew 16. Matthew chapter 16, Captain Pops, this upcoming Monday. So we had a homework assignment from last class. Let's see if anybody. All right, Sioux Falls. Can they hear us? Or you got to call them? Wait to get back from Sioux Falls. In the midst of it, we're going to be going over the Lord's Prayer. Now, we had done this a while back. I think this was damn near the first week that you were here. And I know we were doing the prayers, but I don't know if we were doing the Lord's Prayer at that time. Psalms 83, that's when you came in, and that was right at the end. So you're going to have a chance to kind of go through the song. So take the headphones off your head. Okay. And you're going to be able to see how it staggers in the way it gets broken down. So when you look at the actual scriptures, we'll actually open up the book too and be able to read it. Because the way that it reads in English does not literally translate to how it would be expressed in Hebrew. Or vice versa. I'm not exactly sure the proper way to say that, but it's not as literal or parallel as you might think. It doesn't just translate that easy word for word. I think we need this. So if we open up our books so anybody who's got the Tanakh with them, so like you can't even do that. Because we ain't got the Hebrew Matthew here. Or do we? All right, Salakia to the men above me for that. Okay. They got a recoming. All right. Salakia, we have to go to show it in the Hebrew. We're gonna have to start with the Old Testament. So we're gonna go through, and I'll get these printed off for y'all also. Psalms 81. It's 121. Psalms 121. So we should be printed off. All right. Here we go. All right, we're live on TikTok. Shalom, TikTok. So we're going to be going over Psalms 121 in the Hebrew. So if you got a Torah with you, open it up to Psalms 121.
Salakia, Adawan, can you hear us?
There we go. Two falls. All right.
Khan Adawan, Khan, we are present.
We are all good.
Khan Adawan,
Now,
Khan.
Sioux Falls, your homework assignment from last week. How's that look? Did y'all get to email that in?
Salakia, we haven't emailed it in. We actually didn't get it completed. We are completing it now. We're pretty much at the tail end of it. I can get those emailed in right after class if you would like, or we could present what we have as well.
Save that for next week. You're just going to couple that in with your next homework assignment.
Khan Adawan, Khan. Salakia, that's my fault though that we didn't get it completed.
I understand how it goes with kind of being newly acclimated to it. Again, you know that we suffer no excuses.
Khan Adawan, Khan.
We always know that there's something more that we could have done. Time management, prioritizing procrastination, things like that. So that's something for y'all to work out. We're just gonna work on this as we go. The more season you get, the less acceptable this is gonna become, of course. But we ain't gonna trip over it right now.
Khan Adawan, Khan.
So we're going to be in Psalms 121. You guys got that email of those friends. Did 121 transfer for you on the email?
Let me check. Salakia. I think that's one of the ones that I didn't have access to. One more time, Salakia.
Do you not see it in your email? Is it blocked or something? You just not see it?
There was some attachments that I didn't have access to inside of the email.
All right, no sweat. We'll try to figure another way to get this. Might have to mail a hard copy. Make sure you get your physical address.
Khan, I'll get that sent over.
All right. Use the hand mic. So we're gonna check this out. Mic check.
Khan, I think our sound is still up.
Is that better? Better to use. It don't matter. I'd rather not use a hand. All right, who we got in here? All right, so we're gonna go over Psalms 1 and in English. Now you can see the opportunity to see a larger screens with to see how everything kind of lines. So now, if you got the Blue Letter Bible or the Hebrew to Greek, I think that's just the name of the website. That'll help as you follow along since you got the physical copy. So now Psalms 121 is 8 verses. We're going to take these one verse at a time. So we might end up having to split this video up depending on Any issues, any questions, comments, that we run into, wrong one. So like you put this back, you grab me the Torah. What? Yeah. By next week for you, notebooks. And no reason why y'all shouldn't have class, especially for this one. This is more interactive than the rest of things now. I'll start off with verse 1. So now I'm gonna write the English characters with how it gets pronounced. Actually, slacking up. We'll write the Assyrian verse, break it down underneath. So how old is it? All right. Should be able to see that pretty clear. Pause, how's that look?
Salakia, we can see it. We just probably got to move up a little bit.
All right.
Y'all see?
True.
If you struggling to see, get up and
Read the first one.
Abnao. Asha. Ayanya. Ahari.
All right, young man, read the second one. You got glasses hanging on your shirt if you got a squint. If you need to get closer, you can also do that. Yeah, we're gonna get you involved. You don't see it on the board. All right, everybody's handwriting is going to be a little bit different. I don't know if I've gone over this in the previous classes. It's going to be a little bit unique on how we present it. The ma, I'll give you this pass for free. That's the ma.
Okay, so ma, yeah, what?
No. La means no.
No.
Yes. Con means yes.
So yeah, I, the, yeah.
All right, well done. So we got Asha'a, Ayanya, Al Baharium, Mayan, Yaba'a, Azar. So now we're gonna write how it would be pronounced. And actually, it's like this line that I got flipped it up a little bit. All right. So I. Who is it? What's up? Welcome, brother. Shalom. Asa'ad, Ayanya, Al Bahari. So Asa'ad, Ayanya, Al Bahari, Mayan, Yaba'a, Azari. So now in English, what this would mean, and again, following along in the blue letter is going to help understand how the transition between the Hebrew and the English. And I did forget in the Blue Letter Bible, it includes when it says a song of degrees in parentheses, it includes that in the Hebrew. In the normal prayer, we don't add that part, so we can just kind of skip over that. So I'm gonna have to show this. Damn, I don't know how well that's gonna. Actually, Slack, yeah, Lacombe, can you bring up the blue letter and show what I'm trying to talk about?
God, sir, everybody wants.
Oh, you open that, never mind. All right. You're gonna see a couple words prior to what we're writing down here. That's not part of the normal prayer, it's kind of an intro to it. You can kind of skip over those. So now this first word, again, these are going to be phrases. When you look into the Blue Letter Bible, you're going to see it'll either give you a phrase underneath the English translation, or it'll just have the English word. Because again, a lot of these, even the characters themselves individually, are going to be concepts. They can convey a whole concept, a whole thought, instead of just being a single word in itself. So a lot of these that we spell out, how, for example, just the word stone. That's just one word. It's not a compound word. It just is what it is. Go straight to the definition. Rock, boulder, a collection of compressed sediment. However, it might actually, the actual true definition of stone would be, but we all understand what a stone is pretty straightforward. These words here aren't always going to be that way. You're going to have the root word, and then you might have the preposition. You might have the possessive at the end of it, changing that one word into a whole phrase. So this right here is going to be, I will lift up. I will lift up. Now the root word that it's going to be going off of, nasha, I'm going to have to write that to the side here. Nasha is lift. The I, usually at the beginning of a word, as a preposition, it's going to mean I. Jump in the gun. That's going to translate to I will lift up, the root word being the shot for lift. So now again, you got this whole phrase being compacted into that one word. So now the word for I, not just the character I, the name of the character I is Ayun. Because in the Paleo, the character I is expressed in just that circle, which being a pictographic language is your eye. It's a representation of your eye. So ayun is your eye. Is your eye. And the next word, so we got I will lift up my eye. So we've got that root word ayun. And then it has the possessive adjective at the end, the possessive pronoun. Not exactly sure the category, but we got the possessive marker at the end, ya. Anytime that we add a ya to the end of a word, you might have some words that end in ya kind of by itself, and it's already a root word. I haven't seen too many personal examples of that, but I just don't want to make this concrete yet at this moment until I'm more sure about it. But anytime we add a ya to the end of the word, that makes it possessive. And you're talking about yourself directly, mine. Good. Yeah. If you could just show this part. I just wanted to see how it starts off with Shayar, Lama'ilawa, and now that's just not part of our normal prayer. So, just so that they can see that, just know to skip over it. So the Yah being possessive, and that's directly talking about you, your possession. So I will lift up my eyes. My eyes. All is unto. Now, all can be a couple different things, but usually it's going to be unto. Well, I can't even say usually. It's kind of a catch-all. Because again, we're going from a Hebrew culture to an English culture. And in the English language, you got variations that are kind of synonymous with unto. But all is kind of a catch-all for a whole bunch of words like this that you're going to see. It's not just going to be limited to unto. But just in this case, that's the English word that's covered. All right, so Haharium, the hills. So now here, the root word is going to be ha. So that's going to be represented here. In the previous class, we may have seen the prepositions. So ha in this case is the. Yum at the end always makes it plural. Now, I believe also with the ma at the end, because you're going to see some things like young versus young. Got to double check. I can't remember if that makes it also masculine versus feminine, and we're going over that in the previous class too. But young is always making something plural. I've never seen a root word that is naturally ended in this. Except for this young itself. We can get into that breakdown later, but we can see here how this one kind of translates pretty linear, kind of line for line. But the root being hard, ha being the, that yum just adding that x. So hahar yum. Again, har is our root word. We're just adding the, making the plural. Hahar yum. So I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills. And it's like, look up, can you give me one of the copies of 121 for the brother? What? Should be the one on top to you, on the other side. No, you had that stack on the other side of the paper. Remember, I'm printing on my both sides. There we go. Cool. This, you can have this too, and be printing off all the prayers. You can keep that for your records. All right. My young, from whence? Start that one. From whence? The root word in this one is going to be ayun. Now, ma, and the preposition that's going to be adding, let me just get my notes. And phonetically, it sounds the same as this, ayun. Ayun doesn't mean the same thing. Just want to point that out too. So, like, bear with me. Get some of these. All right, so ma as a preposition is only going to be from or of. So we got ma at the beginning of the root word ayun, from whence. Now again, ayun is not just going to be exclusively for whence. There might be a couple different variations in English that you see for this. But again, we're considering the English language, the variety of synonyms and antonyms in English, to where these Hebrew words can cover. So anytime that you see ayun, it might not always be strictly whence. But in this comparison, in this capacity, that's how it's being used. I mean, Yahweh coming. And then keep in mind, this is Old English. This is Old English. We don't speak like this today, coming. Unless you're trying to be out of a cooler hip. But just for that equivalent for that time frame, you know, we don't use whence like that. But even in the Hebrew culture, this mindset, given it this preposition, to kind of just, just to complete the thought. So it's not set up like this just to try to make sense in English. We have to make it make sense in our culture and our language too. So we're not just speaking like how they had described us as barbarians because of the pronunciation, the very simple and straightforward pronunciation in Hebrew. It is a pretty complex language. It's sophisticated, I should say, not even that complex, but it is sophisticated. Again, we got these words that are expressing the whole phrases in English. And then sometimes you're going to see some longer kind of compound words that would make up only one or two English words, but sound like it's doing something huge on the board or in the scrolls. All right, my help. What's coming with my help? Azar is going to be our root word here for help. And again, that yah, and to the end of it, possessive. There's into my help. And again, that yah is directly talking about you specifically. My help. And you can just kind of see, and I think this will kind of demonstrate the variations when using the Old English and even modern. Mine and mine. And like nowadays, in this day and time, we probably would have said I would lift up my eyes to the hills. We probably wouldn't say unto anymore. To the hills. But again, just the concept that they were trying to convey is as close as they can match it in English, in Old English, at the time when they were translating everything to Old English from the Hebrew and Greek, and even from like the older texts that existed. No, that was just the flavor back then. So I don't want anybody to get too hung up on the Old English and not being able to make it relatable to our time now, to modern times. Just don't want everybody to get stuck on the vernacular of King James 1611. But so far, this is actually kind of going back, kind of word for word. We're going to have some examples where this whole thing might be a little bit backwards. It might be reading, from whence might help come. It could read like that in the Hebrew, but in the English, just again, for them to kind of make sense of it, it would read the other way. And as always, we read and write from the right to the left in the Hebrew. We read and write from the left to the right in English. All right, Sioux Falls. If you're able to see this pretty clear, you got this copy down?
Salakia, I don't want. It's a little difficult for us to see it. Can you hear us, Salakia?
Sioux Falls, give me one in the chat if you're able to see this clear. The copy is done.
I'm put it in the chat.
You can. I don't know if it's still on. Sioux Falls is in the building.
Khan Adawan Khan. Salakia, can you hear us, Adawan? Can you hear us?
I see you had your fist raised, son. You got a question?
Can you hear us? Salakia Adawan, can you hear us?
Signal when you can't hear us.
We can hear you.
You still coming through on YouTube? You can hear us on YouTube. Alright, we're just gonna keep it moving now.
Salakia Adawan, we can hear you, but you can't hear us, unfortunately.
Say that again, Sioux Falls. Verse 2. Small.
Shalom Adawan, can you hear us?
Alright, Sioux Falls, can you hear us?
Khan Adawan Khan, we could hear you guys. I think our sound was just cutting out for you guys to be able to hear us. Salakia Adawan, can you hear me?
I know, so work this out.
Select Sioux Falls. Try turning your microphone up on the device that you're using to stream off of.
Okay, let's see. How do I do that? Can you hear us? Salakia, can you hear us now? 1 2 1 2. Salaki out of one. Can you hear us?
Go back out and come back in.
Khan out of one. Khan.
Trooper, read the first line.
Come. I'm sorry. My eye. Yeah.
Young man, read the second line. It's like young man Junior. It's like
I. Sh. Sh. Ma. Ya. Sir.
the other one that looks like.
Ma.
There we go.
Wa. Ra. To the.
Excellent.
Salaki out of one. Can you hear us now?
We got Azari again.
Salaki out of one. Can you hear us?
My Yahweh. The most high form name. Isupk. Shamayom. Wow, Rakata.
Salaki out of one. Can you hear me?
So now again, if you got your blue letter Bible, opening up verse 2.
Salaki out of one. Can you hear us?
So now we had seen in verse 1, it ended with Azariah. That's going to be the same thing here. It's we starting off with my help. Now, in this case, if you're looking at it in English, again, on the blue letter, this will help kind of fill in some of these clues. In the last verse, we had, what was the word? What was the word that we had that matched up with coming? The last verse. Yabaa. All right, so now we don't have that here. But you see, just want to show y'all this real quick in the blue letter, you can see coming here by itself. Parentheses. We ain't got this. But again, going from one culture to another to make sense of it, English will have to throw in some filler words to complete this concept. So in English, to complete this concept, in parentheses, they got to have coming. Because in Hebrew, for this portion of it, there's not going to be a direct word. But the inference is going to be there. Because here we're going to have from. Now the root word ayin in this case this portion here, ayin, that's going to be the root word. And that's going to be with, against, for, as long as, beside, except, like in spite of. So I can cover those concepts, those kind of words. Again, it's not always going to be exhaustive or just inclusive or exclusive, I should say, of those. But now from the last verse, we had seen the effect of this proposition that stood in place for from. Because this by itself, as a proposition, ma as a proposition is only going to be from or of. And then I, in this case, is probably going to be more with. Is going to be is going to be the context of the word I'm here. It's going to be with. So the concept from with, it kind of covers coming. You understand that? Makes sense? This right here, from with, that kind of covers the concept of coming. So we don't necessarily need a Hebrew word for coming here, because this concept covers this. Does that make sense? See, like connect? Where's something coming from? It's damn near the answer right there. It's coming from somewhere. In this case, my help from, with, like the source, the Most High. So in English, we got to use filler words like this. So in English, you see, my help cometh from the Lord. In the Hebrew, we're skipping over this word because that concept is going to be covered from mine. Does that clear that up at all? And then Yahweh, the Most High. Isupk. Which made so this word, Isupk, yeah, it's not going to directly translate to this in English, but again, the concept of it, really, it's just talking about make or make. That's the focus of this word, Isupk. Work. To act, to work. It's more of a verb, I guess you could say. To make. So in this case, you get that concept of making, of performing, producing, acting on, which made fits under that umbrella. So their chosen way to express this in English, again, back at the time, in the 1600s, which made Isupk. Shamayim. Or Shemayim, I guess would be the cooler pronunciation. Shemayim. Okay. Yep. Okay. Let me grab that. All right, select for Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls, just because we're having some problems communicating that you can't really interact as much. Any questions, comments, or concerns, type it in the chat or save it until we can get these kinks worked out. But for right now, if anybody was trying to communicate, raising their hands and I didn't see you, Salakia, just we're not able to, we got a bug somewhere between us. Heaven. Now, heaven itself is kind of, I don't want to say a compound word or concept or philosophy behind it, but there's no, this is kind of one of those cases where this is a root word, but it has that young attached to it, which gives it that plural connotation, that young. Because heaven in itself, depending on the context that you're using it in, could be talking about multiple locations, or destinations, dimensions. Normally, we would describe heaven as being in a fourth dimension, because you could have the Most High's location, where He's in heaven, where Esau is right now, where these other nations are, and they're up on high, they're in a position of power. They're where everything's nice and peaceful, and everything's going good for them. If that's how people want to define heaven. But in itself, it's already kind of plural. Just the context of it lets you know how it's being applied, which is why you don't need a C and S at the end of it. But just because we have the other word prior to that had young, and that was plural, the is Aharium, this is not required. And again, it's going to depend on the context. You can see the same thing, same setup, and then you can see an S on here, things. It'll just be the same thing. You're not going to see so many young to make that more plural. It already has that elements attached to it. Just depending on the context, would depend on how you see it expressed. All right, my help coming from the Most High, which made the heaven and earth. Why? It's going to be Am. Rapazah is earth. And again, that's not always going to be just earth. But it covers land masses, the generic terms, the country. You could be talking about a plain, a field, a mountainscape, or something like that. We got more words for like plains and fields and mountains and things like that, but it can be used as just a very generic term. Aratasa. In the Apocrypha, actually, in Ezra, Salaki will come. Can you find that verse?
Which one, sir?
In Ezra, in the Apocrypha, where it's talking about, what is it? I think he uses erects. When it's talking about to a land that they never met, that no man had dwelt, or something like that. I think in the Apocrypha it uses the word erects. Maybe that's just the Greek word I'm thinking of, but that's gonna be I almost rolled that out. It's gonna be Arapazah in Hebrew. And that was talking about a land. Again, just a very generic term. All right, we're gonna move on to verse 3. It's like it's too far. You good on verse 2? Give me a thumbs up or give me a 1 in the chat. Give me a thumbs down. Give me a 2 in the chat if you need more time. they fall off again?
So they said they couldn't see that well, so I made this experiment grid so they see.
And I just thought kind of go in and out of focus there too. We got this big ass board and ain't doing shit for us online, huh? All right, so like, we're just gonna move on to verse 3. Everybody's saying right it's gonna be a little bit different. What makes it all special? All right, you can read the first line, please.
Come. All you done? Lumawat or Golka?
Your man Junior, read the second line, please.
all ya na wa ma
There you go.
sha ma wa
Live. Maybe I gotta be a little so with this.
na
So on this one, what's this one?
ra
Yep. There you go. So we got Al Yatan, Lamawat, Regalka, Al Yanawam, Shamarka. Now, normally you probably see La'a in this case. I think it was in verse 1, though, where we had all and it was unto. It's covering unto. In this case, that all is covering not. Yathan is going to be, or select. Let me give the phonetic pronunciation of it. All Yanawam, or select, that's a different word. All Yathan. What? Or Galka. All Yanawam. Shamar. All right, so now Yathan is going to be he will. All is covering not. Now, if you were to look up that word all, again, under this context, because again, do not let there be not, no, nothing, neither. Again, depending on the context of the application of it. But again, if we were to go back to verse 1, so in verse 1, that all, if you were to go to the Strong's Concordance, is going to be H413. And that's going to give you the unto and the different variations that would cover using that context, that application. That's to, towards, unto, into, toward, against, in addition, concerning, according, so on and so forth. There's a lot of, again, it's kind of a catch-all. It's got a lot of different applications, just depending on how you're throwing it out there. Normally, like in the Ten Commandments, you'll see la'ah, and then the Hebrew word for whatever that commandment might be. And that's normally covering not don't. Don't allow, no. We normally use it just here for no. But again, just depending on the application and the context of it, it turns to put it in a whole different direction. So So again, the concept, it's kind of a rough translation to it. So Yah at the beginning of a word, that's normally going to be he. Nathan is not going to directly translate like that to will in this case, but the concept of to give, bestow, grant, permit. So like in that concept of will, because you can use this as a form of grant. Like I will let you. In this case, he will not. He's not granting, he's not permitting, he's not giving permission. Along with watch. Yeah, this can be one of funky ones. This whole thing is you will not suffer. And the rest of this is going to kind of explain why that's so. Because suffering in this case too, it's that concept is like granting permission to do something. Like I will not suffer a fool. I ain't got the time for this shit. I ain't got the patience for it. I'm not just gonna sit here and deal with it. He will not suffer to be moved, Lamwa. What is the root word here? And the direct definition that they're giving us here, shaking, and that would be kind of, it's got a couple different definitions of shaking, wavering of a pole or a bar of yoke, shaking or tottering, a pole or bar for carrying bar of yoke, things like that. But again, when I opened up, the plaques talking about a lot of these, the individual characters, as well as the words, it's going to be covering the concept. It's not always going to be just very literal or parallel, clean cut definition. Because if you were to just look up that word itself, you might not see move. But now the concept of shaking, shuddering, stress, fear, or almost to be bullied in this concept. You will not suffer like foot. To be moved. So now prior to this, when we're reading in the prayer, so far we got, I will lift up mine eyes into the hills from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. So in the concept of being protected, being safeguarded. Regal is going to be that root word. That's going to be for foot. That could also be leg. Talking about it's mainly going to be talking about a foot in general, but then it could be talking about an animal's foot, an angel's foot. In this case, it's thy foot, the ka at the end. That ka at the end. Pretty much, any what they might call a suffix. Anything at the end, those additions They're always going to be possessive. 9 out of 10 times, like, at least from my experience so far, they're always going to be possessives. And in this case, that similar to what was the other one that we just had? Yuck. Yuck is talking about you specifically, my foot. Kind of in the first person. This kind of being from the eyes of I guess second person. Kind of an outside source directed at you. So now it's a thy foot. So if I were to say Rebel Yuck, I'm talking about my foot. But this is kind of a general statement that thy foot, to kind of talk about ours collectively. Thy foot. So that cut is that possessive at the end of the word. Like, and I said, they cover this law in the beginning too. There's not, in this case, now B does get covered also. It's just not going to be directly covered in this definition swap, in this translation. So this is just kind of a filler word in this case. But again, that concept, just to complete the thought, make it make sense in English. You got that thrown in there. I'll give them one. And now again, if you look at the blue letter, it's gonna break this down kind of, I guess, kind of backwards. Because after the Y, I almost have to show you more of this. And supposed to be purposes don't really matter. Just the way that we read it in English, it's not always going to be the same presented. The first thing that we're going to define, just to keep in total with English, shamarka, he that keepeth. And then all again alone, they're going to break that down with thee will not slumber. So again, that all is covering not. Now I need more. Move this all down. And so up here, we kind of got that pretty straightforward between the translation between the Hebrew and the English. He will not suffer, well, actually, no. These get switched around. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. But it reads in this order in Hebrew. Reads in this order in Hebrew. In English, this is how they make sense. Noam is going to be slumber. Then yeah, it's really going to cover the he. That ka is really going to cover the thee. shamarka. You're going to see a lot of different variations of shamar. Normally it means to watch. Keep it, in this case, is the definition that they're using. Same concept, watch over, guard, protect. We use shamar as our term for security in the school. Move on to verse 4. It looks like we're at the end of 4 today. I always got to compare the translating process to Spanish. A lot of times you'll get the prepositions or the pronouns or the nouns or some shit like that in the opposite order than it might seem, than it might be presented in English. That's just how the two cultures make sense of it. All right, so verse 4. I'm not. La ayalon. Voila. That's yeah, Sean. Shalomar. Yasha. Right, now. We're gonna cover behold. Again, not in each and every case, but generally, largely from what I've seen, those two match up. Okay. So again, if you look at your sheets that I've given you, the way that they're breaking this down, and again, you can see this better in the Blue Letter Bible. Look up. Can you pull that up as well? It can. This is going to go in a complete different direction. Yo, man, Junior, what's this? What is that? I thought you knew this off memory by now, no? What is it? Yeah. You better put the glasses on, brother. All right. That close to your face, okay? There we go. Israel. So now this is a variation of Shalom, Shawama. It's still going to be covered on that same concept. Watch it over. In this case, it's going to be he that keepeth. So the same way in the previous verse, he that keepeth thee, he that keepeth, same kind of English verbiage, but different Hebrew representation. And I'll double check on this for clarity, but my understanding with the wa added into the middle of it turns this kind of into explain it, kind of into a verb, I guess, or like it turns it into the action that's being done. Because then we got General Shalom. Now his name does not translate into he that keepeth. But again, that concept of watching over, protecting us, guarding us. So if you look in the blue letter, if all right, it's not Slack. You look up. Can you try to show? How are you doing? Take it off the link. Just go straight into the search bar. All right, then scroll down. All right, this is what I want everybody to see at home. How ugly this part gets. In English, on the left side, in that column, the vertical column, you're going to see, behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. But in the Hebrew, the way it's written down, in the order that that is presented in the Hebrew, it does not read that way at all into the English. All the words are going to be there, again, all the concepts and shit, but totally different order. So where before we had all uniform, not slumber. In this case, we got la'at uniform. And again, they're going to use another kind of filler word here in a sense. All right, so shall neither slumber this is going to be nor. This is going to be sleep. So we had all again one before. For he that keepeth thee will not slumber. We had all again one. Now we got, behold, he that keepeth Yashta'ala shall neither slumber. Again, the la'at is going to be covering that neither part. Shall is just kind of a filler in here. There's not really a specific link to that. Again, that wa is going to be an and, which is not really in here either. But to show kind of that connection. Shall neither slumber and no sleep. Shall neither slumber nor sleep and no. And that's kind of a pretty rough translation between and no and nor. But if you take that old English word and like modernize it, that's kind of what you get, and no. When you think about it. Again, the order of operation it's a little bit different here. Behold, shall neither slumber nor sleep he that keepeth the Yashta'ala. That doesn't sound like the normal kind of smooth, calm flow that English might have. But it works out for us. Behold, he that keepeth Yashta'ala shall neither slumber nor sleep. So 121's got 8 verses. We got the 4 on this in this section. For y'all homework, for those at home and those in class, I wouldn't put this on you yet, just because this is taking your first class in here. We got to get you a lesson 1 with that sheet to take home too, so you can start practicing the Hebrew alphabet. But for y'all brothers, you're gonna write what we've worked on so far in the Paleo Hebrew too. So by next week, but you don't remember the homework assignment from last week that you missed. You'll have to review the class, because I believe it was to put that, at least the remainder of what we were working on. I think you were supposed to translate that back into the Paleo. Something along those lines. It was towards the end of the class, and I don't think we translated everything from the Assyrian over. So double check last week's class. That should give you an indication. But for next week, you two, and then Sioux Falls, y'all at home, everything that we were working on today, these 4 verses, I want you to write it down in the Paleo Hebrew. And then do it this pretty much the same way that I'm doing it here. Give me the Assyrian, give me how it sounds, and then give me the English translation. So it's pretty much going to be, you're damn near going to copy and paste what I got going on here. Just instead of the Assyrian, you're going to use the Paleo. But just remember to make sure you're writing from the right to the left with the Hebrew, right from the left to the right in the English, and then use the proper connectors based off how you see this. Damn, y'all can't even see it though. I'm going to make sure that you guys get a clear copy of Psalms 121. And this will kind of be a test to see where you are from the last classes when we were explaining about the connectors in the paleo people. That upside down half circle, that upside right half circle, the connectors and how to pronounce separate. We're going to give you this because this is going to have those English characters given the pronunciation. And from this should give you all the clues that you need to see how you have to write it and connect it in the Paleo Hebrew. So just the first 4 verses. You got to go through the whole thing. We'll say that for another time. If you want to work ahead a little bit, that's fine too. But at least for next week, that's what I want presented. So your homework assignment from last week, and then this portion translating to the Paleo. Last one for now classes every Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time across the board. And then, Central Standard Time, but 7 p.m. across the board in the respective zones, whatever the time zone is going to be. Monday, we got Captain Piles coming in to break down Matthew 16. In December, we've got the Hanukkah, otherwise known as the Feast of Dedication. Isupk Milwaukee. Shalom.
Ooh, 27 Club.
All right, gang, let's really nail it this time. Here we go. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4.
Been in this shit for some years, I ain't never left. Nigga try to save his life like he's scared of death. I got Hellstar on my body, bitch, I'm heaven sent. Hey, this Isupk had nothing, we on fellowship. Been in this shit for some years, I ain't never left. Nigga try to save his life like he's scared of death. I got Hellstar on my